Hello, happy Wednesday. Thank you for joining me here tonight. My name is Alyssa Thomas from Penguin and Fish, where we make lovely and quirky hand embroidery kits. And I am here every weeknight at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. And it's a time where we can relax and craft together for about an hour. And I work on projects through the whole entire process from beginning to end, so you can join me along the way and sew with me. Sew and stitch with me. All right, you guys, I am going to continue on the Splendid Sampler 2 again this evening. This is the quilt along that we're doing right now. Splendid Sampler 2. And we finished a block last night, so this is the clamshells block that we did last night. And now my pile of finished blocks is actually starting to build up a little bit. So I thought tonight, before New Block Thursday, which is tomorrow, before New Block Thursday, let's sew together some of these blocks. So I've been doing the quilt as you go technique for my quilt, and I'll show you what that is here. So this is what we're going to do tonight. First, we're going to sew squares together. So I have little sashing pieces. That's this white strip in between my blocks, and then I have like a little cornerstone or a little square that goes in all of the corners. So I've been taking 4 blocks and sewing them together like this. So I have my strips here, some extra strips and some little squares. They're all ready to go. And once we have them sewn into 4 blocks like that, then I've been doing the quilt as you go technique. So what that means is I take the 4 squares, I put some batting behind it, and then a background square, like my background fabric, back fabric for the back of the quilt, and I sew that together. And then we take those sewn together blocks and sew them into a bigger grouping. So this is my quilt as you go so far. You can see all the quilting we've done. And I have 3 sections basically. So here's the back. There you can see the quilting a little bit better there. Yeah, I don't know if you guys can see all that well there. So we've been playing around with quilting. So again, we will quilt when it's at the stage of just the 4 together. So once we have a bunch of these 4s together, we will start quilting again. But tonight, I think we will just do this stage, the first stage, where we're just sewing together blocks, kind of prepping for the quilt as you go technique. So all right, let's look at our blocks. Let's put some together, and then we'll press them and trim them, and then sew the sashing and everything. So let's give it a go. Thanks for joining me. Super nice to see everyone again here. All right, here's my finished block stack. And like I said, it's getting larger. I'm gonna get real up here tonight so we can see what 4 look like next to each other. So give me a sec here. All right. Oh, you have your section sandwich and need to quilt some. Yeah, I'm trying to get to that stage here. So someone mentioned that I didn't trim my scallops yet, and that's correct. And the reason that I haven't trimmed it yet is that anytime I have extra on a block, I've been leaving it because when I'm quilting, because of the quilting kind of pulls in the fabric a little bit, and if I trim it perfectly to my 6.5 inches, then sometimes I'm left with like not enough fabric to make it all the way to the edge of my quilt here. So when I can, I have been leaving the extra edge. So for example, this one here, this pineapple one, I had 7 inches worth. I didn't trim it down to the 6.5, but when I was ready to sew the sashing, that's when I trimmed just the 2 sides that I knew were going to be touching the sashing. So then I have, you can see a little extra around the edge of this pineapple. So if this gets pulled in a little bit from the quilting, I have that little extra edge. So that's why on blocks like this, I have not trimmed them down yet. So you can see, here's my 6.5-inch ruler. Yeah, like we have all this edge, including, you know, our extra scallops. So when, like I said, when I have the opportunity, I've just been leaving it for now. But before I sew the sashing in between, then we'll trim them. So I'm just gonna start laying some of these out here. We'll see what we all got. You know what, I almost feel like I'm gonna get too picky if I do it this way. I think I'm gonna just kind of, let's shuffle these together a little bit, and I'm gonna just pick 4 at random, and we'll see what happens. All right, what 2 do we have here? Okay, we have a kitty, we have the kitty and the spool. Those look like they'd be good together, and 2 more. Oh, I got the clamshells and the little bowls. So I think this is the game we're playing. So I think we'll do those 4 together. And what's interesting about this is a lot of these have the white background, but that's what I've been going for. I'm going for like a white background overall. So all right, these are our first 4. So I'm gonna put all the other ones to the side for now. Sometimes it's just better to leave it up for random like that. I think, you know, sometimes when I'm getting too decision-making-y, then that can stifle the process a little bit. So this is what I'm doing. 1, 2, 3, 4, the end. I think they're gonna look nice together. And ultimately, you could do this for your quilt too, just grab and go, because if you've picked all your colors beforehand, you know, we're going with this kind of, you know, the blonde quilt. I'm doing a white background, so that's one of my rules, and these lighter colors. So no matter which one I pick, it's all gonna sort of go together, right? So I don't really have to worry about it. So just grab, pick my 4, and there we go. So we're gonna trim these down because obviously some of these, you know, are a little bit big, but now I know what 2 edges to trim down. So actually, let's do that first. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna make sure I keep them in order here. And you know what? Let's press all these as well before we get going. Let me rearrange here. Okay. To the iron right by us here. This first one looks pretty well pressed, but might as well just give it one more go. Looks like a seam allowance got pushed in another direction. All right. So this one actually looks nice and trimmed and everything too. This one will be like our little guidepost. All right. Now usually with embroidery, I do like having a towel underneath, but I think since I have this wool mat, that's gonna work just fine, but I am gonna turn it upside down. Then I'm not going directly on my stitches. I'm mostly ironing it right now because we're going to be trimming, so I want them a little flatter while I trim, just to make sure I get nice straight lines. All right, that's looking a little better. I got quite the crease in here, but once we wash the quilt, that'll come out. All right, this guy's pretty wrinkly. He was in an embroidery hoop and everything, so makes sense that he would be a little creased. And, you know, I could spray it with some starch and stuff now too, but I'm just doing my dry iron. I don't mind if there's a few wrinkles in here. Cute, like that one. All right, last up. Ooh, your favorite part, Catherine, is putting the blocks together. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about starting to quilt some of these again. It's been a long time, man. I'm surprised at that stack of finished ones that I had here. It's been a while for that. All right, I'm going to put these to the side as I go. So we'll just leave them right there, and I'm going to, I think we can just stay right here like this. I'm gonna grab my 6.5-inch ruler. This one I think is rather close. Yeah, so I'm not gonna do anything with this one. This one's at our 6.5-inch mark. However, these ones, and you know what? I think I'm gonna get Mr. Rotating Cutting Mat out here. Oh, I just squished this after pressing it. Oh, Debbie, you like this part of picking the blocks? It's so much fun. Yeah, I totally cheated today. I just kind of blindly grabbed some. But you know what? That kind of felt really good to not be like so having to make a hard decision of like, oh, does this go here or which one? That felt good because the moment I started laying out the blocks, I was going to lay out all the blocks so we could pick. And that just felt like too much pressure. So the random pick is the way to go. But all right, at least for me tonight. So now this one you can see I have an edge around. This is one of those ones that we started with a 7-inch block instead of a 6.5 because we are going to be handling it a lot. I mean, there's embroidery, there's an applique, there's a lot that we are going to handle. So with those ones, the designers have started out with a slightly larger blocks. So because this one is going to be in the upper right-hand corner here, I'm only going to trim these two sides, and I'm going to leave this edge, I'm going to leave these two edges longer. So like I said, when the quilting kind of pulls on that, I'll have that extra leeway. But I do need the part in the sashing to be trimmed so to make sure that my motif is centered here. So all right, I'm going to trim those two sides. Luckily, when we did this block, I put little dots in the corners, so I'm kind of using those as my guide to center this kitty cat here. All right. This one. Going slow. Zoop. And all our stitching, all our embroidery should be away from this edge that I'm cutting. It was kind of, the block was planned a little bit like that. It always looks cute though when you start trimming, because look, even having this trimmed really it looks like it cleaned it up quite a bit. All right, so that's the second one. All right, let's do this guy. So he's in the lower right. This is another one that I think, yeah, definitely the block's large. So let's try and center these bowls. I think let's center it on here. Maybe that'll be helpful. Yeah, I think that first bowl is pretty horizontal, so if we can use that as our guide. Okay, I think let's call it right there. All right, so I need to cut this one and this one. I really like how these bowls turned out too. Cute. Actually, yeah, we're fine. I thought maybe I turned it at an angle too much, but I do think that bottom bowl being horizontal, like straight horizontal, I'm erring on that versus my block being perfectly square there. Okay. So that's there. And last one. So this one we're cutting here and here. Oh, it looks like I have some dots here to center it again, so that's going to be helpful. I think putting on my mat centered is going to help too. I can see a dot down here as well. All right. And I don't have one there, but let's line up these. And, you know, I'm not only going by those dots. I do kind of want these clamshells horizontal, so I'm kind of lining up these bumps against a ruler line, and I also want the flowers as centered as I can. And another thing I have to look at is down here, I need to be able to sew in these guys. So look, if I'm down too low, if I trim it right here, then I'm not going to have my 1/4-inch seam allowance isn't going to cover up the bottom of these templates. So I actually have to really look at that. That might determine how high up this goes, but luckily we got tons of room here. So I want to make sure that I have a good 1/4-inch seam allowance down here. That's going to be my main guide here. So I think right there is probably good. Ooh, I'm nervous now. All right, yeah, so I'm kind of almost all the way to the top here, and we're gonna trim off a lot of these. Actually, we're not gonna trim them off because it's our bottom right-hand one. We're gonna trim off here and here. Yeah, yep, okay. I got it, you guys. This is what we're doing. All right, we are, I think, even enough. I think we're pretty centered here. I'm going for it. This side and this side. Oh, trimming off all of these little dudes. Scary. Luckily, we're going to be sewing it into something pretty quick. Okay. Phew, the cutting part is done. I was getting a little nervous with the cutting. So you can trim your whole square to the 6.5 inches if you want, but like I said, I'm just leaving it so when I quilt, I do have that extra little leeway, even though, you know, maybe I'll trim these nubbins off because that's just going to get annoying, don't you think? There, we'll just trim these buggers off. There, even that makes it look more pretty and finished, doesn't it? I think I'll get this guy too while I'm at it. They're just going to be in the way, I think. These extras. There. Okay. That makes me feel clean. It's a little bit cleaner. All right, so now, don't need this anymore. Let's get our 4 squares in order here on my mat. Okay, ba-doop, ba-doop. Oh, you made wild mushroom soup tonight, Gretchen. That's what the bowls remind you of. Yum. We did make that mushroom risotto the other night, and it turned out just really yummy. I'm trying to leave my Sundays more free than I have been lately, and trying to cook something new or something that we haven't done for a while, and just trying to get in that habit a little bit. So that's what I did last Sunday. Let's hopefully I can do it this Sunday too. All right, I do have some sashing pre-cut. So these are, I don't have everything I need for the quilt. I just cut up until I basically got sick of cutting. I figured I'd need a lot of them. I got to do the math on it again, but I'm doing, they're 6.5 inch strips by 1 inch. The 6.5 inch is because that's the size that our blocks ultimately will be. And I did 1 inch because sewn, it'll end up being 1/2 inch. And that is the perfect amount for the quilt as you go, like the way that I'm doing the quilt as you go technique. So here you go, you can see the sashing here. And when we sew these blocks of 4 together, we do like a little binding in between. So you can see that this one doesn't have any quilting. It's because this is an extra strip that we use to bind this and this together after they were quilted. So for the method that we use for that, the strip ends up being 1/2 inch. So that's why I thought I'd mimic it with a 1/2 inch sashing. So here you can see that strip a little bit more on the back here. Oh, there you can see all the quilting. Fun! I am excited to get, really excited to get quilting again. Okay, I need to add to that quilt. So, all right, 6.5 inch by 1 inch sashing. I'm gonna just lay them out here. This was angled the other way in the book, wasn't it? I think this was maybe like this. Although I kind of liked it going that way. Let's just double check, just so, not that it really matters at all, but I thought of it just now and might as well just check. One of these, yeah, here, this paper was for it. Oh yeah, it does. See it, so it is angled that way. All right, fine, let's do it that way. I did think it was cute going that way, but whatever. All right, this guy and this guy. And I'm gonna grab one of these. this is used here, so I think I want to try a different one of those. Let's just grab this pink. That's cute. All right, there is my sashing. So what we basically have now is a 9 patch, so just different size blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So what I'm going to do is sew it together in rows. So I will sew this top row together, then this row and this row. And the way I do that is I kind of sew in columns. So I'll sew this piece to this piece, and while it's still on the machine, I'll start this row by sewing these 2 pieces together, and then I'll sew this row. And by that point, this will be, I can trim this off the machine and then add this to it, and then keep going. It'll kind of make sense. The way I do it this way is so I can keep my machine moving without having to take things off. Like instead of sewing this and then cutting it and then sewing this onto it, by not cutting it, I can just keep going with the next piece and then the next piece. So, all right, let's get down to the machine. Okay, so I have my leader on there already. Remember, I'm using squares now for my leader, and I'm sewing on either side of them. So eventually, I'll have a whole pile of half square triangles that I can use to make a quilt. So I have a little basket of squares by me. Ooh, that's gonna be cute. A little basket of squares. So every time I use my leader, which is what I use to start and stop stitching, it'll be the start of another half square triangle here. All right, let's shimmy this off a little bit more. Okay, starting with the top row. So I am going to start where the cornerstones are going to meet, just because some of my blocks I haven't trimmed, so I want to make sure that it aligns on this bottom edge here for these. So just put right sides together, and this one in particular, I'm going to sew with this one with the big piece on top, because we have a little point that I need to match up here. So I want to sew right along that edge so it hits that point, so I'm not clipping the point, and I don't have a lot of white on the point. So I can do that by, I can see it on the back here, right where this crosses. Even though I'm folded over that side, I should be able to figure it out, I think. So, this way. All right, now I'm not sure what direction I got this in now. Oh goodness, all right, there we go. Let's go like this first. I'm going to sew starting on this edge and flip. Okay, I got it now. Let's line that. All right, here we go. And for good measure, let's get the stiletto out too. That always helps me along. So I didn't oil my machine yet. This is something I should probably do really soon here. But I did put in a new needle before I started today, so that's one good thing, I suppose. All right, I am going to, here's where that seam meets. I'm going to aim for that right here. So right there, that's that point. Okay, hopefully I got it, and let's stitch to the end. Now here, this is what I'm saying, instead of taking this off of the machine so I can sew the second piece on, I am going to jump and grab my next row of items. So this is that tiny little cornerstone piece here. So let's put the right sides together there. All right. All right, and then the bottom row. So here are the first 2 in the bottom row. So this is the bottom row, so I have to match up this top piece here. So let's fold this edge together. And there we go. We do kind of have a little area to match up here, but I can kind of feel that through the machine. So I'm just gonna, or through this top piece, I'm gonna just keep it like this. instead of flipping it over. Ooh, things just started feeling weird. I thought maybe I ran out of bobbin, but I'm good still. All right, here's where that piece comes down right to there. So I'm going to kind of aim for that, and I think we're pretty good. Ooh, going through a lot of fabric here. All right, so now I can trim. Got my scissors here. I can trim the first piece off. Oh, here's my leader. Let's see what this guy looks like. Little green dot. All right. But I can take this first piece that we sewed. I can clip that off of this little chain that we're making. Open this up. I'll just finger press this for the moment. But there, let's check that point. So, I didn't clip it, so that's good. And now the kitty goes onto this one. So again, this is the top row, so I want the bottoms to meet. Let's flip this over. Actually, go like this. So this bottom edge, I want to meet. And the top edge is where we left extra, so that'll hang over a bit. Okay. First row is done. Okay, next up, now we can trim the second row off. Cute. Oh my gosh, like I sewed this, I'm like off, which is just so silly. It's just the simplest little square, and I obviously didn't line it up just right. Oh well. Okay, and lastly, the bottom row. Cute. All right, we'll finger press this. Oh, look at it sewn in. It's so sweet. Look at that little scallop with a nice finished edge now. Man, just finishing that edge with another piece just always adds so much, I think. All right, this top edge on here needs to match. Yeah, I think it's time to oil the machine though. It's feeling a little kerchunkety again. All right, let's grab next two little squares in my bin here. I'm gonna just fold this in half to get a diagonal edge. These are my little leaders. When you do the hexes, do you have to be appliqued? Oh, when for the hexes from that, there's a couple ones that have hexagon appliques in the book. Is that what you're referring to? Or when you do English paper piecing hexes in general? If you're doing a whole quilt that is hexagons, then you don't need to applique it to something else. It can just live alone. But for all the ones in the book, I think we're appliquing them onto a base. But no, it doesn't need to be appliqued on something. All right, let's check these blocks out. We need to press them, and then we can sew the 3 rows together. All right, there we go. See, this edge matches, and then this is that edge where we left extra. So that's okay. And this guy, look how small that got. And 3, oh, I am loving it. They just come together once they're sewn up. All right, I need to press these. So I like pressing my seams so they can nest together when I sew rows. And what that means is I got 3 rows here. I'm going to alternate which direction I press the seams. So like this one, I think I'll press the seams with the blocks towards the inside because they usually have stuff happening and they just want to push. See how this is just kind of pushing the seam allowance in? I'm going to just go with that. So I'm going to press all these in, and then this one I will press out, which it looks like it wants to be already, and then this one I will press in. And by alternating the direction of the seams, when I sew the row together, they should nest together, which is going to give me really good joins, like where the points all line up. That's the hope, at least. So let's heat up that iron again, and I'm going to start with this centerpiece here. All right. So let's just give it a little press, and I'm going to press these seams outward. And man, I did sew that crooked and weird, but oh well. All right, that piece is easy enough. I'm going to scoot you guys down so you can see a little bit more. All right. There we go. And now these ones I'm gonna press to the inside. So I'll do this side first. There, and we'll just go over the top. Oop, messed that one up. Okay, there, that's pressed. Those ones are both pressed inside. I think we're looking good there, and let's do the same for this. Rotate him around. Okay, done. So now we can flip these rows together and sew them. And I'm going to grab some clips. Let's see, I have one here. On these long drags like this, where I'm stitching kind of a long row, I do like clipping these together. So here's our seam. See how one seam allowance is going one way and the other is going the other way? It makes a little like bump here, going up in opposite directions. And so I'm going to just push those bumps together. You can actually physically feel your fabric not move anymore. And when that happens, you know the seam is nested, and that's what's going to give us our nice point in theory. So I'm going to clamp that down, and I think we'll just leave this one unclamped. Once we unclamp this one, we'll try and match this one up as well. Let's just give it a go. I think that's the only place I'm going to put a stitch or a clip, and we'll see how that goes. Okay. Getting everything flat again. All right, and remember, this is where we have a little extra edge, so I don't need it to line up at the end. I feel like this is a not so sewing straight kind of evening. Oh well. All right, I'm going to remove this clip now. I'm gonna see if I can still feel them nested, and I think they're okay. All right, we're through that first one, and let's see if I can feel these. I think we're probably good there too. All right, through that second seam. And now a straightaway. Ooh, in theory, we have another, I just noticed this, we have another point that we need to match up there. And luckily I have this white fabric, so I can kind of see that and kind of feel. So I'm gonna aim right for there. Ooh, I think I went through it. All right, ooh, and I can get, oh, I can start a new one. Let's start a new leader. So I have my little basket and I have it divided in lights and darks. And this is all from old clothing that I've been saving, saving forever. Just kind of like all those plastic guys that I showed you yesterday that I'm trying to spin, all those little plastic garbage labels or stickies. That's kind of what this clothing is, but it's going to turn into something someday. Getting our recycling done here, I suppose. Oh, that's good, Barbara. Yeah. I found that out in the first Splendid Sampler that, oh wow, I do not sew straight often at all. So I got to get better at that for sure. So, all right, let's, but yeah, you know, even not sewing straight, your project's still gonna work. It's gonna be fine. Okay, let's see how we did on matching our points, and it looks pretty dang good. So here we go. So this is the nested seams. Oh, we're close. Not perfect, but close. This one looks perfect, where the seam, like this vertical seam, just goes right into this vertical seam. That comes from that nesting the seam. So this one's close. But yeah, so looking good. That looks great. And I'm just gonna kind of finger press this too for now, because I want to get sewing that other one. Oh, and let's check out this. Oh, I didn't lose my point either. So it looks good. Oh, and this looks like so much more finished now too with this edge, I think. All right, let's get this onto here. I think let's just flop that over. And again, I'm going to, where'd my little clip go? There we are. Wonder clips are always running away from me. So I'm gonna nest that seam again. So that's where I have those seams allowances going in the opposite directions. We've pressed them in the opposite directions. I clip the one. Normally I would clip the other one, but it's so close because we're working in such a small space that I think it's just gonna get in the way having two clips there. But like I said, you can actually feel them meet, so I think we're gonna be okay. All right, let's get started. I'm really excited to see what this looks like. You know, that's something with sewing straight. Sometimes one of the reasons I don't sew straight is because I catch on something over here, or the surface I'm on isn't very slippery. So that might be something that you want to look out for. If you're sewing on a surface, like if I'm sewing with my mat here, the mat kind of wants to hold down on this so it'll kind of pivot. Like, because it'll want to hold it here, but my machine is sewing, so it'll want to pivot, versus when I'm just on my slippery surface here, then sometimes I'm able to go straighter. But mostly it's just me paying attention. Just me really paying close attention to where I'm aiming for and going slowly and just concentrating for the whole time versus letting my brain wander off and then realize, oh, I'm not sewing straight anymore. Something also, I have this business card here set at my 1/4 inch mark, so I can actually butt up my fabric against that, and that helps me a bit too. Mostly I just have to pay attention. All right, and get this guy going. All right, that's that. Let's trim it. This leader is not quite done. I'll leave him out here. Let's see what happens. Yeah, Shauna, for the first Splendid Sampler, I waited till the end before laying out my quilt, and I was super duper specific with how I did it. I actually went from like light to darks, so like all my white ones were at the top, and then it kind of variegated down to my really dark ones. So that I could only do when I was done. So if you are worried about putting into groups and then it not looking quite right, wait till the end. That's totally fine. One thing that's helping me with mine this time is I just set it as kind of one of my rules. I think one rule is this white background. Wherever I can, I'm doing a white background. So I know that's going to be relatively consistent. So I know I'm not going to have like a big grouping of ones that have a different background because I've set that rule. Oh gosh, I was a little further off with this sashing. Oh, a lot farther off. Look, see, so this is what happens when you don't line up your points very well. I'm a bit off there, but luckily, I mean, it's white on white, so you're not gonna really be able to tell. All right, I'm gonna press this. It's together though, looking cute. Ooh, look, and I messed up. Well, that could be one of the reasons I didn't nest the seam. This one opened on me. But I'm going to just press these to the center again, I think. But yeah, you definitely don't have to, group them like this right now like I am. It was definitely an active decision of mine of like, oh, I'm not going to be able to lay out this quilt when I'm done. And I knew that going in, and so I'm just kind of living with that decision, basically, and allowing it to be like, oh well, it's fine. I decided to do it this way, but you don't have to for sure. All right, let's check it out. Okay, I like it. So we do have one more here that is ready to quilt as well. So they're gonna look, oh gosh, I think they look so sweet next to each other, these two. All right, we have a lot of extra blocks yet, but I think we'll probably call that a night because it's nice to finish a group in one sitting, and tomorrow is New Block Thursday, so I don't want to kind of be in the middle of it. But we have one more ready to go. I want to count. Let's see how many more I have here, though. See how many more groupings we can do, because maybe we can work on this again on Friday and next week as well. So let's just give it a little count and we'll see what we got here. All right, cute. Here, I'll do it in the dark so we can see. 1. Oh, they're all stuck together. 2, 3, 4. Geez, I already forgot about this guy. He's a lot of work. Okay, 2. I mean, we could just group them how I'm doing right now. 2, 3, 4, and then we have 2 extra still. So we have enough for 2 more, it looks like. 2 more groupings. And I think I just, randomly group these 2. Or maybe not, like I said, we have a new block Thursday tomorrow. I'll kind of leave these, but if they fall, that's fine. we'll just repick again. But yeah, so we can do 2 more groupings like this yet. And that'd be great, because I need to actually, before we start quilting again, I need to cut more of these squares, so the background squares. So I think we're doing, these end up being 13 inches. Let's see, 6.5, and another 6.5, and then we lose the halves and gain this. So yeah, so 13. So I've been making these squares slightly larger, and I ran out of my scraps, so I'm actually going to be cutting it off the bolt. So it'd be nice to cut a whole pile of them and have them ready. So if we have four of these guys ready to go soon, then we can at least cut 4 of those. Jane, I have not added any extra fabric yet. So what Jane's referring to, I may have to, but like this situation here where my fabric got too small. So right here, I may have to add an extra little strip before doing our little binding piece. But I'm just right on the cusp of the 1/4 inch. I could fake it a little bit maybe, but that's a case where I might have to add some more, and up here too, maybe. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. We'll make that decision right in the moment, I think. But yeah, it'll be fun to quilt again. It's just, I haven't looked at this in a while, and it just is really, I'm excited about it. I want to do more feathers. Those are so fun. I like these little swirls. Oh, I like it all. Yep, it is time to start playing around with some quilting again. But what I love about the Quilt As You Go so far, this is my first time doing Quilt As You Go, and I love that I'm going to be done with this quilt once we're done with the blocks. You know what I mean? I don't have all the extra steps of having to quilt it and, find a backing for it and pin the whole thing. Oh, that didn't even occur to me. I don't have to lay on the floor and pin this whole thing. That'll be nice. All I have to do is cut a binding and throw it on. And I like doing that. So I'm pretty stoked about this Quilt As You Go technique. So, all right, you guys, I am going to flip you around, and we'll call it an evening here. And then I'll show you how this guy turned out too. Hello, hello. Okay. Ooh, weird. Little tilty. Sorry, guys, this is just being weird. All right, there we are. We're crooked, but okay. Here is the 4 blocks. Oh, they're sweet. They're definitely more of the airy blocks. Like, there's a lot of white around these, but it'll be sweet. It'll be a little moment in the quilt of the white backgrounds. But I think that kitty is just adorable. I like all of these. All of these ones are sweet. Just darling little blocks. I'm really having fun with this quilt along again. The Splendid Sampler 2. Always fun, always an adventure. Learning new stuff all the time. So awesome, guys. Thank you again for joining me here. I will be here tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. Central Time on the Penguin and Fish page for New Block Thursday. So 4 new blocks will be released tomorrow. Potentially we'll work on one, but we'll for sure check them out. If we don't end up working on one of them, we'll sew more of these blocks together. I'm still feeling like it's good getting caught up a little bit. So I'm getting caught up in the processes of what we have before starting new stuff. It's been feeling better for me doing a little bit of that. So we might just sew more of these 4 bits together, getting ready for Quilt As You Go. We'll see, but we'll definitely check out the blocks tomorrow for sure. So thanks again, and I'll get this up on YouTube right now, and it'll be up in a few minutes or so. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a great evening. Good night.